It is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Nice weather today, turning muggier tomorrow, and of course monitoring a storm system over the weekend. Lots to get to, so without further ado, let's get right to the information. So let's take a look at this morning. This is actually, it's funny, it says Biloxi. It's actually Gulfport, so already starting off strong. I hope that we will eventually wake up on this Waking Up with Wesley. Let me Gulfport fix that for you. All right, now let's try that again. So this morning we saw a beautiful sunrise. This was the time lapse. Really? I missed my G. Okay, I promise I've got it. I've still got it. I've been off for a couple of days and now I'm all rusty. All right, we've spelled Gulfport correctly. We have included the correct capitalization of all of the letters. And we are in the proper place instead of Biloxi. What a beautiful sunrise we had earlier this morning, am I right? Let's get away from that graphic. It was quite unlucky for me. And let's talk about how today is going to be sunny and pleasant. Some really nice conditions for you as we step out the door this morning. It has been on the cool side, but later today, so comfortable, 70s. Now you will notice with the sun angle getting a little bit higher and a bit more direct, it could get kind of warm with these types of temperatures. You're looking at lower 70s by the beaches, some upper 70s for areas that are away from the water. And the best part about today is that the humidity is actually still nice and crisp. We've got dew points on Wednesday in the 50s, which on our scale, as we will point out to you, is basically pleasant. So there's 50s on the scale. That's what we have today. Now, tomorrow, it is going to turn muggier. We can see those numbers jumping into the lower 60s, so you might start to notice the mugginess, just a little bit of a stickiness in the air tomorrow for Thursday. I think those numbers go even higher for Friday. You can see the dew points going into the mid 60s, so probably just going to be downright muggy by the time we get to Friday. And all of this moisture in the air will be something that our storms this weekend try to feed off of. So that's one other thing we're going to talk about is the severe weather risk that seems to be setting up for our region heading into Saturday. And I'm about to do a pretty deep dive. Put your science caps on, put your weather caps on, pretty deep dive into the ingredients necessary for the recipe for severe weather. And if we're going to see all of them lining up. So there's the map that the Storm Prediction Center, which is based in Oklahoma, has put out for Saturday and Saturday night. There is also a map for Friday night. I'm not showing that one right now because it doesn't touch the Mississippi coast. But for Saturday night, it does touch the Mississippi coast. You know, you look at this and it's easy to think, oh my goodness, everywhere in that yellow zone is going to get severe weather. And that's really not the proper way to interpret this map. All the map is doing is showing you where severe weather is possible based on a probability scale. Technically, there are two zones here. The first zone is this outer layer, which includes Lake Charles, looks like Tallahassee. And then there's this inner zone where the probability is even higher than the outer zone to see severe weather. And that includes Montgomery, Jackson, New Orleans, Gulfport. If we think about how we traditionally see these when they're in the 3-day range, that outer zone will be a level 2. The inner zone will be a level 3. So we have a level 3 out of 5 risk of severe storms on Saturday and Saturday night. And I want to remind you that just because you're in the risk zone does not mean that every town and community will see severe weather there. It is totally still possible for something like this to happen. What if there's a few tornadoes somewhere in the yellow zone like this? Well, it's totally possible for all of those to be bunched up here in Kentucky and have no tornadoes on the Mississippi coast. But even with that, this map would verify because all it's doing is telling you somewhere in that big area, you're going to get some severe weather. Now, if you get a really small zoomed in map, then it becomes much easier to tell exactly where this stuff is going to happen. But with this map taking up so much real estate, it's not that easy to say. The technology of science is not there to give you a fine comb neighborhood by neighborhood prediction on severe weather. So it's just this is what we have technology-wise right now. We can just tell you somewhere between Ohio and Louisiana, there's going to be some tornadoes on Saturday and Saturday night, in addition to maybe some hail somewhere in there, in addition to maybe some damaging straight line winds somewhere in there. I promise you, take a snapshot, take a picture of this map. And when we get to Sunday, and you'll see a map showing where storm damage was reported, it's probably going to be somewhere in that zone. I wish we were so good that I could tell you whether or not it's going to be on the Mississippi coast, but you know, Saturday is still 3 or 4 days away, so it's really not an easy thing to do with the current limitations of science and weather technology. But one thing we do know, if you open a weather textbook, is you need these 4 ingredients to create the recipe for severe weather. You need atmospheric moisture, you need some instability in the atmosphere, you also need atmospheric lift, and you need strong wind shear. And when all 4 of those things come together, it makes it easy for severe weather, the types of things we just mentioned, tornadoes, hail, damaging straight line winds, for those to occur. So let's go through some of those ingredients. Will we see strong wind shear setting up on Saturday p.m. across the region? What is wind shear? It is the change in direction of wind with height. So let's take a look at 2 different height levels. We got lower level winds, which are about 1,500 feet off the ground. And then we have upper level winds, which are about 5,000 feet up above the ground. And in this particular map, what I'll do is take one of them off so it's easier to see. Let's start low. So what we're going to be seeing on Saturday is some wind coming in at the lower levels from the Gulf. And that wind, we'll call it from the south. That is a south wind, maybe south-southwest wind off the Gulf, about 1,500 feet up in the sky. All right, now walk even further upstairs in the air and we get to 5,000 feet. Let's turn the lower one off. So now we've got winds that aren't really coming more south, they're almost more southwest. This is a change in direction. If we put this one on there, you can, well, I drew a little wrong there, but there you can see how there's a cross, they're going across each other. If those were parallel to each other, no wind shear. But because they're somewhat perpendicular to each other, they're crossing each other, wind shear. And I think it's not, to me, what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like it's maximizing over the Mississippi coast. You know, you have this zone here. Let's focus in on this zone here. I drew it too big. Focus on this zone here. The blues are crossing the oranges, but not as much as over here. I mean, those oranges are coming straight from the south. They're not southwest. They're straight from the south over Tennessee and Kentucky. And those blues are straight from the southwest. So there's even more wind shear, I think, to our north. Maybe we might be spared some of the worst wind shear. This stuff, when it gets ingested into approaching thunderstorm complexes, it can help some of those thunderstorms to begin rotating. You know, you have a pin. And by the way, this is just directional wind shear. There's also speed wind shear too, and that's what I'm about to illustrate to you. You can look at the speed at which some of those arrows are moving. And let's say the lower level is my left hand, the upper level is my right hand. If the upper level is moving faster, look at the pin is rolling in my hand, right? So there's going to be a rotating horizontal column of air because of the wind shear. And sometimes the thunderstorm can take that and an updraft gets into that and it rotates that horizontal column into a vertical column. And now you've got basically rotation, the beginnings of a rotating thunderstorm, all due to wind shear. So that stuff is easily something that can make severe thunderstorms. A few other ingredients we'll roll through a bit more quickly because I'm not going to go too textbook on you, but this is atmospheric lift, which is large-scale spin in the atmosphere. There's going to be a big upper trough coming in from the west over the plains. And so that big red area you see over there is going to be approaching. And this lift, as it lifts up in the air, is going to help for large-scale complexes of thunderstorms to develop, basically a big squall line or large area of rain will kick out ahead of this large orange area. So that's going to help to kick out a big area of rain and storms onto the Mississippi coast and other areas nearby. And you can see that this is a look at the upper pattern. This is a look at the jet stream, the southern jet stream, where those winds are really picking up speed in this one zone here. So that's helping to create that atmospheric lift. So that's 2 out of 4 ingredients in place. The third ingredient is the instability. This is also known as CAPE in the meteorological business. CAPE, C-A-P-E, convective available potential energy, but you can also just call it storm energy or instability. And it looks like we have a decent amount of that. To get this to go higher, you'd need temperatures to go higher. And we're really forecasting highs on Saturday to be in the 70s, not 80s. So for the most part, not expecting a bunch of this. But if you get, a burst of sunshine, that might make the temperature spike in a few areas. And when you have that hotter pattern, that creates instability in the air because you get warm air near the surface that begins to rise. Warm air rises. Put your hand over a boiling pot of water. Warm air rises. You feel that. And so with that rising warm air bubbling up, that helps those thunderstorm updrafts to get going a bit more easily when you have more of that storm energy. And we've looked like we're going to have a decent amount of that. Finally, in order to make even one rain shower, you need moisture, and we're going to be tapping into plenty of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico during the Saturday evening time frame. Now, all the ingredients are in place, but this is one futurecast scenario of how things can go hour by hour. Saturday morning, maybe some breaks in the rain, so your whole weekend's not gone. Saturday morning, maybe you can salvage some hours of rain-free weather outside. Now, we get to the middle of the day, Saturday, we're beginning to see the showers and storms moving in from the west. And this continues during the afternoon. So if you have some plans on the Mississippi coast on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, it at least looks like we're going to see a pretty good chance for rain. Whether we see thunderstorms, whether we see severe thunderstorms, we'll see. But the chance for rain does look like it's going to be pretty decent for Saturday afternoon. It's only going to continue to increase. If I'm eyeballing this right now, I'd give you a 60% chance by 1 p.m. I'd give you a 70 or 80% chance by 4 p.m. for rain. Who knows about the storms, but for rain, that's the chance. And then by 7 p.m., I'm still looking at, just eyeballing this, at least a 70 or 80% chance for rain. And then we go to about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and the cold front moves through the area, and this begins to dry things out. So that for most of Sunday, it looks like a really nice and dry day. I hope that the Mississippi coast is spared from the severe threat on Saturday, but I do think we are going to see some rain, especially it looks like based on that scenario during the PM hours. So Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday night, probably your highest rain chances of the entire weekend, and we'll see if we can get some storms in the mix too. But hopefully the Mississippi coast is spared. Let's break your weekend up into 4 parts. Saturday AM, Saturday PM, Sunday AM, Sunday PM. There's really only one of those parts that has a really high rain chance and the potential for storms, and that's Saturday PM. So say it a different way, 3/4 of the weekend might not be that rainy. The majority of the weekend might not be that rainy. You just got that one critical time frame there, Saturday PM, that we'll be monitoring for really high chance for rain and a decent potential for thunderstorms, some that could be strong to severe. Of course, as the days get closer, we'll have more higher resolution and finer tuned computer models to take a closer look at this stuff. So be sure to stay tuned as we continue to monitor the latest on this developing weather situation for the weekend. But I do think that you should be prepared for maybe, if not some severe thunderstorm warnings, some tornado warnings somewhere in our 6 southernmost counties or very close to our 6 southernmost counties around Saturday PM. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I hope that you have a wonderful Wednesday. It's sure sunny out there today with crisp low humidity. Take advantage of that before it turns muggier tomorrow.